Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, June 18th, and this will be the video for our individual income funds. We cover 7 of them. You saw them listed in the title. We'll focus primarily this week on FBY, or Meta Option Income Strategy Fund, because they are part of the only Group B fund in the 7 that I cover that declared today. So we will go ahead and take a look at how things went with all the funds. We'll start with them though. And a reminder on X at ETF Inspector 1. Let you know when videos are coming out. I repost things like this today, right? So we got our distributions declared today from YieldMax. So we'll just run through them real quick. Pallady, $3.26. Marrow, $1.20 and change. GDXY, 84 about and a half cents. NVIDIA, 67.21 cents. FBY, that's one we'll be talking about, 53.63 cents. LFGY, 46.84. That's a weekly. If you see a weekly next to it, they're not part of Group B. They're every week. Babo, 0.4314. Chippy, 40.56 cents. RDTY, 32.65. GPTY, 32.26. Dips, 29.22 cents. JPMO, 27.74 cents. SDTY, 22.33 cents. MRNY, 19 cents. YMAG, 16.91 cents. YMAX, 14.24 cents. ULTI, 8.75 cents. And QDTY, not sure why they had them all in order except for that one, 23.42 cents. All right, so this is the first individual video of the week other than the week look ahead that came out Sunday night. So we'll have a couple days worth of information or data collected to talk about. We'll start with FBY because they're the one that, if you're following any of these videos, you're collecting a distribution. Well, you're actually not collecting it this week because of the holiday tomorrow, but we'll get into that. They've had no trades so far this week, so they rolled last week, and we're just still running off of that. So let me back up 1 second. Let's see how the underlying stocks did compared to the YieldMax funds. So AMD lost about 0.25%, where AMDY made 0.25%, so that's a win. Amazon down 1.07 cents. AMZY down only 0.44 cents, so beat the underlying there. Apple went up about 0.5%, where APLY lost 0.25%, so Apple did better. Meta lost 0.21%, where FBY only lost 0.18%, so the YieldMax outperformed. Google down about 1.5%, where GOOY went down a little over 1%. YieldMax outperformed again. Microsoft up 0.46 cents. MSFO only up 0.34, so the underlying did better. And Netflix up 0.13%. NFLY up 0.27%, so twice as good. All right, let's go ahead and look at how we're doing. So we know that there was no trades so far this week for FBY, so we will look at the holdings. So they declared 53.63 cents. If you watched the guesstimate video, you saw they actually lost money last week. So it was not based off of income. And if they would have paid based off of the IV, it would have been 37 and change, 37 cents. We rounded up and guessed 40, figuring they're trying to keep us happy. And man, are they. So after losing money, they paid us well beyond even the 30-day IV. So I guessed 40. I wasn't even close, 53.63. But looking at the data, you can see why I would guess 40. But that's okay. I don't do this to hit home runs on the guesses. I do this just to provide you with the data. All right, so today's declaration day. Tomorrow's a holiday, so Friday's X day. So by close of after hours trading today, that's the last chance you had to buy it to collect this distribution, and you will receive it on Monday. All right. There's about 10.3 million outstanding shares. Net assets in the fund is about 174 million. The synthetic is at 660 for July 18th, with the current price at 695. So that's doing great, worth $10 million or 97 cents a share when they do close it out. Most of the money, as usual, in treasuries. And then our little bit of options play. They're leaving them alone, and their 702.50s are less than 1% out of the money, and their 705s are a little over 1% out of the money. So doing well as long as Meta closes Friday below 702.50. It'll be all wins for Meta. All right, we'll now back up and just go alphabetical order from here on out. AMDY had trade days on Monday and Tuesday. So let's see. I think AMD had a big day Monday. So they closed out their 119s for a loss. Right, closed out their 120s for a loss, which was really surprising. So they closed out their 119 calls for much cheaper than they closed out their 120 calls. So this just was bad timing throughout the day. And then they pushed them to next week. So they sold some 126s this week, and then they sold 132s for next week. All in all, lost $4.1 million trading on Monday. And then on Tuesday, they closed the 126s that they had just opened the day before for another loss. They sold them for 94 cents and then bought them back for $4.25 a day later, and went ahead and pushed them to next week 134. So lost $839,000. So AMDY is struggling this week. There has been a small increase, 125,000 shares, bringing up to 19.4 million, 153 million being managed in the fund. The synthetic is July 18th, 110 with AMD at 126. So that's doing well, worth over $22 million or $1.14 when they cash it out. Last distribution was on May 28th. Last declaration. Next declaration date is a week from today, next Wednesday. Their options are doing well. Still have, these are the most recent. After losing on Monday, losing on Tuesday, they're sold out till next week with 4 and 5%. So we probably won't need to talk about them too much more this week. Next, AMZY for Amazon. They haven't touched any of their trades so far this week, so that means things are going well. Part of Group D. Previous declaration on June 4th, next one on July 2nd. That's 2 weeks away. 17 plus million outstanding shares, 276 million being managed in the fund. Another one whose synthetic is doing very well. July 18th, 185 with the stock at 212, worth almost $40 million when they cash it out, or $231 a share. That doesn't mean they're going to pay out $231 a share. So when you see stuff like that, just don't forget about all the times you got paid when they lost money. So their calls for this Friday at 217.50. So those are still 2.34% out of the money. So as long as we don't go up another $5 on Friday, because we're closed tomorrow, then those will get closed out for a win. Okay. APLY's been busy. They traded Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday, they took a beating. So it looks like they were moving their synthetic on Monday, which was why that went so poorly. So because they had a 210 for June 20th, that's this Friday. They've swapped it out for a 200 for August 15th. So we've been talking about it. It was worth negative for a while, so they finally had to close it out. Sold the new one, and then went ahead, closed out their 205 calls, sold 202.50s, staying within the same week, closed out their 207.50s, sold more 202.50s in the same week. Altogether, lost $7.1 million on Monday. On Tuesday, they closed out 3,130 of the 207.50s for 6 cents. Opened up 202.50s for next Friday, profiting 280,000. And then today they closed out more of the 202.50s and sold 200s for next week, profiting 324,000. My dog come walking in, licking my arm while I'm talking. They're part of Group D. Again, they declare in 2 weeks. Almost $130 million being managed in the fund. Small increase in outstanding shares, bringing up to 10.5 million. Synthetic just got renewed, pushed to August 15th. It's not doing wonderfully. It's about $3.50 out of the money, to the bad. So it's $2 million cost to close it out as of right now, but there's tons of time, no reason to worry about that. We talked about orange here means we just talked about these have been changed today, so they will update with the holdings download tomorrow to give us the new information. And then they still have 202.50 sold out till next week that are 4.2% out of the money. We already talked about FBY, so we'll go to GOOY. Again, they've been busy trading on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's usually not good, but let's see what they did. So they bought to close. So they were adjusting their synthetic as well. That was what they did on Monday. So that looks like, So people pulled out of the fund. That's what that is. So they had to close out 200 shares, 200 contracts of the synthetic and the associated 200 options contracts sold with them because somebody pulled out. So $90,000 loss on that. So that's not really them trading. That's just if people pull out, that's a forced transaction. On Tuesday, I don't know. Maybe they pulled out a little bit too much because they turned around Tuesday and added back onto the to the synthetic and went ahead and sold some. So maybe they oversold, or maybe there was just a decrease in outstanding shares one day and an increase the very next day. But that's all that was. Those 2 days were in and out of the synthetic and associated calls. So $25,000 gain, though. And then finally today they were actually trading. Closed out their 180s at 14 cents and 13 cents and sold 180s for next week. Yep, on both of those for $1.17 and $1.11, profiting $411,000. So that's going well. So as you can see, we won't talk about these options because they just swapped them all out till next week. So won those trades, I remember this. So they did a portion of them. You see, because they had 7,095, and they closed out 4,550. So a little over half have been rolled till next week, and the rest remain till this week, waiting for them to get a little cheaper to close the rest. So GOOY's part of Group A. They declared previously on June 11th. Their next one is July 9th, 21 days away. Increase since our last video of 150,000 shares, bringing it up to 10,225,000. 124, almost 125 million being managed in the fund. 180 is the synthetic price for July 18th, with the stock at 173. That's about 2.3 million to the negative. And we just talked about the options. Moving on to MSFO for Microsoft. Looks like we had an increase in the shares, so they sold 70 more contracts of puts and bought 70 more calls, all at the 435 synthetic price. Now, that synthetic's already doing well, so then when you buy calls that are already doing well, that's why that cost a fortune, $46, and obviously the puts didn't really bring in any money. So that was just adding to the synthetic and then going ahead and selling some more calls to go with it. The buy is just the insurance, the other side of that call credit spread that protects in case the stock goes beyond your strike. So $300,000 loss, but this wasn't really a trading day. This was just adding on. Money came in, so they added to the synthetic and added to the calls sold. MSFO is part of Group C. Previous declared on May 28th. Next one is a week from today, June 25th. 7,175,000 outstanding shares, 127 million being managed in the fund. We set it 435 for July 18th is the synthetic with a 480 current closing price. That's a almost $12 million value, or $1.66 per share. They didn't panic, right? Their calls went into the money today by 0.5%, practically nothing, right? 480 compared, so 24 cents on that one. And then this last one's about 1% out of the money. So they're going to go ahead and let time decay go, right? And they will roll these on Friday. So let's just hope Microsoft doesn't have a big up day on Friday, and then this will look like a smart move. All right, finally, NFLY for Netflix closed out 385 contracts of the 1255s and sold the 385 at 1245. So dropped it down closer, brought in a decent difference, bought some insurance. Overall profit of 224,000. Let's see, 385. So that was just this one here. So as you can see, they brought this 1255 down to a 1245. So that'll be a new line because we don't have any 1245s already. Let's see, did they go to next week on those? They did. Yep, next Friday. Okay. Another one in Group C, NFLY. Next declaration is a week from today. 160 million being managed in the fund. 8.7 million outstanding shares with the increase of 25,000 since our last video. Synthetics at 1140 with the current closing price at 1222. So that's doing well, worth $11 million or $1.28 a share. We talked about this getting rolled to next week, and these others are right at the money, right? 1222.50, and it closed at 1222.29. So these are 21 cents out of the money, and the others aren't far behind them, 0.84%. So again, markets close tomorrow. We'll get time decay, and on Friday, as long as if Netflix goes up at all, these will end up costing to close, but we still got a decent chance as long as it doesn't go up $10 for these to be winners. So, all right, that's everything we got. We went over the distributions, the declarations, and how all the funds that we cover here are doing. If you like the bigger ones, the more popular ones, go check out Retire on Dividends. He covers those big major ones. I pick up the little ones just so nobody's left out if you like these. All right, I got the dad joke of the day for you. Before I do, thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate it. Appreciate the comments, the encouragement, shares. I get updates from YouTube every week. It tells me how many likes and how many shares you get per week. So I appreciate that. People helping me out. So hopefully you like the content, and I will try to keep improving it. If you have suggestions, feel free to let me know. So, and if you're not a subscriber already, please consider it. Okay, dad joke of the day. What do dogs and phones have in common? They both have a caller ID. That one's pretty good. Okay. Hope you have a nice day off. Hope you have the day off. I don't, but hope you have a nice day off tomorrow, and good luck trading on Friday. Good night.